your self-care and your me time does not have to look like what other people enjoy. It could be whatever that saw thing is that Elena has, that she
It's called
builds
a
benches
miter
with.
saw. It's called a miter
Yeah,
saw.
that's her
Yes.
self. That is her self-care. Hey, I'm Dejanique.
And I'm Elena, and this is Everything Eventually.
I'm just like so excited to dive in because it feels like an extra therapy session every single week.
Agreed.
When we
Yes.
put our headphones on, I'm like, oh, I get to talk about
I
the
am
thing
very
and flesh the
excited.
thing out. So
Yes.
I'm doing good.
Yay, I'm so excited. And I feel the same way. And today's topic is, I will say juicy from it is happening in the world. I feel like we see it everywhere. And so today I am very excited for us to tackle a conversation on everything isn't a brand.
Ooh.
I feel like we all see the social pressure and literally turning everything that you may like or have it's a hobby, you're good at it, the pressure to monetize it, the pressure to
Yeah.
make it into a brand and be visible doing that thing. And is that necessary? Can't you just have hobbies that you're just happy about and fulfill you personally? And like, what are the differences in like passion and performance and visibility versus authenticity? So I'm very excited to have this conversation about everything isn't a brand. So
Yeah.
here we go.
This is definitely up your alley. We're going to put that MBA to use today because
Period.
you
I am
have the
very
credentials to be
excited.
able to really let us know what's a brand versus what's a cute hobby. We're going to give y'all a little background today because we want you to be able to have a little knowledge on how we're approaching this when you talk about passion versus purpose versus performance, right? So obviously a passion is something that you love, something that you would do for free, something that like energizes you and invigorates you and you're probably naturally good at it, right?
Yep.
But then your purpose is something you're called to. So that's the thing that you feel not only benefits yourself, but it probably benefits those around you, your community, a greater good. Yeah.
Yep.
And then when we talk about performance, that's something that people are going to give you a round of applause for. You're doing this thing because you know that it's going to garner a certain reaction.
Yeah, you excel at it.
You're good at it. And you know people are going to give you a pat on the back. And I think where it gets confusing is a lot of times these things can intersect.
Yes.
And
there's
so
lots
we
of
feel
overlap.
like if this thing is good and somebody's clapping for me, then maybe I should go and get myself an LLC.
I agree. I mean, I think when we look at, I feel like from when we were younger, especially like in our 20s, where like hustling was like everybody was going and doing and all the things. And, you know, that was like normal from like you're starting off in your career, you're hustling, you're trying to like get your footing. Makes perfect sense. But I don't think it's normal for like every part of your day-to-day life to be a capitalistic opportunity. I don't like that's a lot of pressure. Like it's a lot to feel like, oh, I'm good at this. I should turn it into a business. I can make some money on the side. Like that's just a lot. And it's like, at what point can you, to your point earlier, like how can you have something like you just like to do and it brings you joy? When is that more important than the potential to make a few dollars?
Right.
And I think that's like a big, hopefully something that we will touch on in this conversation. And for me, like you mentioned my MBA, when you think about a business and building a brand, like that is, you have a product, a service, you are building something that has an identifiable customer base and you're solving a need for that particular customer base. And there is growth potential because there is not someone currently in that space delivering that thing the way that you plan to do it. That is not the same thing of I love to make homemade products and I'm going to do this and then I'm going to turn it into a business. And things do happen organically like that, and that is great. But that's more a passion turned business. But that's not like you set out to like probably start a business. That's probably you saw a need for yourself And then somebody was like, oh, hey, girl, can I use that too? And you're like, oh, yeah, I can make up some more. Like, and so then it becomes for her. And it's like a natural, organic growth factor. And I think
Yeah.
that's the difference in, like, to your point earlier, like, there was passion there. There was something that you were doing because you're like, this is great for me. And maybe like my neighbor or whomever else, my auntie, my cousin could use it too. But like, it's not like you set it out to be like, oh, I'm going to start a business because I'm good at this thing. And I think that's kind of like the difference.
Yeah. I just threw my grandparents a 60th wedding anniversary over the weekend, and I
Mm-hmm.
outsourced everything, right? And so my husband kept saying, "You are really chill about this. Like, why aren't you tripping?" I'm like, "Because I'm not doing anything. I
Right.
organized, I planned, I paid, and I will show up."
Period.
And so
That
when I
part.
went to meet the decorator at the venue, she was like, "Do you plan events?" And I was like, "Why did you ask that?" And she was like, "Just because of the way you presented your mood board and how organized you were." And there was once upon a time that I did plan events. And because I planned for my cousins and my aunties and my line sisters, and everybody thought that my events were so wonderful, I thought I should go ahead and make it a business. And I
Yeah.
quickly learned just because you're good at the thing doesn't mean you're good at the business. Doesn't mean you want to be good at the business aspect of it.
Yes.
And so after about a year of my garage being full of tablecloths and, you know, candelabras that I would never use again, and these
Right?
backdrops that were collecting dust because only one bride wanted to use them, I was like, you know what?
This ain't it.
Sit down and be for real, sis. This is a hobby. And when people come to you who you love, and you want to show them that you love them and you want to do this thing for them, do the thing. But this does not have to be your business. You have a 9 to 5 and your garage is missing your vehicle being inside of it because all of this decor
Yeah.
stuff is taking up space. And so it was a
Agreed.
lesson that I learned personally, right? That everything you're good at does not have to be a business. And when you turn it into a business, sometimes you take the joy out of it. You suck the fun out of it
Yes.
because it's no longer a creative outlet. Now it's like a thing
It's
where I have to
work.
budget and look at the line items and work and outsource
And
in
you're
terms of like,
invoicing people.
yeah,
And did they pay me or not? And
there's no fun in
on
that.
time.
Yeah,
No, I
yeah.
completely agree. I mean, I feel like in our first episode, I mentioned like the miter saw and all the like the woodworking projects and stuff. And
Kim the
so,
Tool Girl Taylor.
yes. And so over the weekend, I helped a line sister um, do an accent wall in her nursery. So
Hmm.
same thing. Like I love doing it. I loved doing it for her and her husband, as they're planning to welcome a new baby into their life. Like it
Yeah.
was fun. And we, looked at Pinterest and picked inspiration and like merged two different designs together. It was so much fun. I could not at this point be like, I think I'm just going to quit my day job and just
Right.
do that for people all the time. Like, I think to your point, it would take the fun out of it. Like,
Hmm.
I love interior design projects and all of that, but I don't want to take away from being able to have something that makes me happy, where also I get time to myself
Yeah.
selfishly. Like, my projects, when I tell my husband, I'm doing a project, I need time, and he's like, done, whatever you need. And he takes the boys and they're off doing their own thing. I'm selfishly, I don't want to take away from that. Like if it's my business, he's like, oh, well, just like figure it out with everything else we're doing, and it no longer becomes like a safe space just for
Yeah.
me. And I need that.
You know something though? This is my theory where a lot of this started, and it was
Mm-hmm.
during the pandemic because we had
See
so
that
much free
free
time
time.
to explore things that made us happy or brought us
Yeah.
joy because a lot of people were working from home, and so you didn't have the commute. You didn't have to get ready in the morning. And so it gave you your time back. We were able to reclaim a lot
Yeah.
of that space. And people were like, "Oh, man, I do like to do this thing. Oh, man, I'm pretty good at this thing." And then you had an economy that was trying to recover, so there were dollars available for
Oh, yes,
entrepreneurs.
there were.
And so it created the perfect storm for people who were discovering hobbies because before they didn't have the idle
They
time to
didn't
do
have the
so.
time.
And then
Right.
you had the capital that was available because they wanted to pour money back into the economy to boost it and get, things back going. And so everybody thought their thing was the thing and a business.
I'd agree 150%.
Yeah. And I don't think that we had the wrong mindset. I mean, because my business did start in the pandemic, right? And I think it
Period.
was
Right.
because I did have that time and space. I think where we fell short was a lot of people didn't realize the mechanisms that it took to make a business run. And you may have had
Right.
a good idea, you may have had a good product, you may have had a community that you were starting to build, but did you know how to run the business?
The business, the
And
long
did you
term
really
part.
want it to be a business, right?
Yes. And I think that's another thing. Like, I think that things that we all are passionate about, I think it is perfectly fine to bring other people together in your shared passion
Mm-hmm.
and spend time doing that together. Like, instead of
Yeah,
building a business, air quote, where you're trying to sell the thing, maybe you build a community of like-minded people who love to do the same thing that you do, who's also like dedicated to spending the time and trying new techniques and whatever, this shared passion is. I think that there's lots of ways to grow and share like what you love to do without making it a business and taking away the aspects of it that made you fall in love with it to begin with.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's also something to be said, just from a personal standpoint of when everything becomes a business, then you become your brand, right? So
Hmm.
everything you do becomes a walking, talking billboard almost. So I
Yep.
remember feeling like, if I posted on social media because I was in the wellness space, like I had to have a specific aesthetic and I had to
Yep.
be specific places and I had to say specific things because I needed to have this like well-rounded brand. And I wanted to be authentic to said brand. And that made me realize one, if I'm having to work so hard to try and match this aesthetic or match this
Hmm.
thing, am I really operating from a space of authenticity or am I trying to mirror what I think this thing looks like? And
Right.
so that was a wake up call for me. And when I
So, I
took a
mean,
step back, I also realized I value a little more my privacy than I ever thought I could or would.
yeah.
Just being so used to being out there and just being a public figure. When you take a step back and breathe and have a little privacy, it's like, wait a minute, this is nice.
It
You mean to
is.
tell me I don't have
No
to
pressure.
post? There's
No
no pressure
pressure.
for me to follow the algorithm and for me to have
Post
something to
every
say.
Tuesday at 12 o'clock that you
Girl,
have something new to say every Tuesday on like clockwork. And you're just like, that's not real life.
no,
It's not. And
no.
like, as the girly who's taken a long break from social media, which I'm coming back also at the same time I'm
Ooh.
saying this, um, it is, it was scary and freeing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, to your point though, it's like, what is being authentic? And then what is just being there and being seen? And like, what's the difference? And I think that's like a part of this conversation of like, if you're, if you have passions and it may or may not be a brand, um, like you don't have to be the brand. You don't have to take all of that on to feel that pressure of having to like do all those things. And to your point, post at a certain time every week and do all of that. Like that to me seems to take away from the authenticity of like being you and building this brand or building something that you're passionate about. It doesn't seem to be very authentic to feel like you're on a schedule to have something to say all the time. Or is that just being visible? That's just being there, filling the box, filling the space checking the box.
I think that it's a gray area. Right? Like it feels like
Life.
a little bit of both, which is why a lot of people get overwhelmed and just drop the
Quit.
thing and move on. And so guilty as charged, Elena.
Guilty. Very guilty.
Drop the thing and move on. And I think that we have to have these honest conversations with ourselves when we start these ventures and say, like, is this a thing that I really want to go 100% in, right? Am I going to give this thing my all? Is this the thing that I'm going to hang my hat on?
Yeah.
Or is this my hobby? And it is okay if the answer is the latter. And I think that
It is.
leaning into hobbies is a huge form of self-care. It's a huge form of wellness. Our self-care doesn't always have to look the same. It's not all of us going to Pilates or yoga on Saturday mornings or sitting at a coffee shop. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
that's not what's going to pop on social media. You know,
I would say no.
I think we have to
Last year
think
I
of,
did crochet a blanket.
of course you did. Of
So
course you did.
I will say it is a really soothing hobby when you're sitting on the couch. It is mindless. Like your hands are just moving.
So is it kind of sexy?
I mean, I guess it could be if you're
Little bit.
sitting on the couch next to your husband with a glass of wine. Sure.
Mhm. There you go.
Why not?
I mean, I think people might click on that, Elena. You you may have found you a lane there to get
I
some
mean,
traction on the
maybe.
algorithm. But she
But
also
also
is saying that to say that does not mean she wanted to go start a crocheting business the next day just because she
that part.
crocheted the blanket, you know?
No. And there are people out there who have amazing crochet businesses and they can crochet literally any and everything. And I applaud them. And that is truly like what they've dedicated their time to and built a business and a brand around it. Me sitting on my couch just because I can doesn't mean that I should. And I think maybe that's just like maybe the tagline.
The in
Just
conclusion of
because
it all.
you can doesn't mean that you should. And doesn't mean that it's something that you have to like go out and maybe out of your way to try to monetize. I think it's okay just to have hobbies.
I agree. And I think it's about reframing our minds. Because you're not
Yes.
wasting talent just because you're not monetizing
No.
it. Um,
Agreed.
God gave you the thing for a reason, and it doesn't always have to end in dollar signs. Like,
Correct.
money doesn't always have to be what people equate to success. And I know that's a difficult concept for us as Americans to grasp.
Yes, it is.
But money is not the end all be all when you think about measuring success. But I do want to maybe answer a question that probably is lingering to some folks who are listening, and they're saying, okay, what if I am passionate about this thing? And what if I am really good at it and I do want to turn it into a business? How do I know if it's business worthy? Miss MBA, can you answer?
So I would say number one is think about who would you sell this to? Is there an actual market? If you are producing, we're going to go with the crochet idea. If you're producing crochet items that are different than what's on the market or for a specific niche of consumer that are underserved, then yes, there is a consumer base, number one, that would be probably interested in your product. Number two, I would research the other brands, what they're doing, and then also like have some conversations with some consumers. Like ask them, I'm building this. Would this appeal to you? Does this meet your needs? Yes or no? If they are telling you no, it's not you. It is not you. It is the product. And I think that's another thing is removing yourself from building the product.
Okay.
Build the product for the purposes of whether it's you're going to build it for generational wealth, whether you're going to build it to sell it, whether you're going to build it because you want to nurture it and grow it and, pass it down to somebody else in your family. Like, think about, like, after the other two things, like, is this really a thing? How do I want to grow it? And that will tell you, like, the amount of time and energy you also need to put into it. And, like, eventually, like, what's your exit strategy? Like, how am I getting out of this thing? Because unfortunately, none of us will live forever. Maybe until they figure out, like, cryo freezing us or something. But, like, we're not going to be here forever. So, like, I think, like, it really starts, though, like, with who is your consumer, and does this product really do something for them? Yes or no? And I think most important, let the consumer tell you what they want and what they need, and then go build it.
3 snaps for the free game. For the free game. I remember reading something that said there are 3 categories of hobbies. One that keeps you healthy, one that makes you happy, and one that can make you money. And I think if we were to like approach hobbies holistically in that way, instead of focusing so much on the one that makes you money,
Yep.
then we would be in a much better space. So
Yeah.
don't think about it like you just have to have one hobby. Let's start with those 3 pillars. One that keeps you healthy, one that makes you happy, and then one that could potentially make you some money. And then I think that it takes some pressure off of the third tier because you have these other things that have absolutely nothing to do with the almighty dollar.
Yeah.
So then if you want to lean into that third thing for monetary purposes, you feel a little less pressure to do so.
Yeah. I agree. I think passion and purpose have lots of value. And I think a lot of time more value than people like think they have long-term value. And who knows, like, your passion might lead to, like, inspiring your kids or like somebody
Mm-hmm.
else to like think about taking that passion and turning it into the business that you could never even think of. Like, imagine if people truly just operated in what they were passionate about and what was purpose driven. How inspiring that would be, just to see other people living out their lives in a way that like felt meaningful. I think that like other people would find so much, value in seeing that like who knows who you could impact and inspire just based on like you just doing things that make you happy.
That concept sounds so liberating, and unfortunately,
And
it
scary.
feels like so, like what's the word? Aspirational instead of it being things that people feel like they can
Practical.
attain. But you
Yeah.
can. And I think that's a part of our message in talking about the fact that everything you're good at doesn't have to be a business. You can live your life in a way that's inspirational, and then that opens other doors for you and the people around you.
Around you. Yeah.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, I think getting to everything is all about making the choices of like, I'm going to do this just because it makes me happy.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I'm going to do this just because it helps me maybe move one step forward in where I want to be in 5 years. I think so many of those long-term goals just start off by saying like, today I'm just going to do this one thing that I know is going to get me there, make me happy, make me feel more fulfilled so that I can show up tomorrow as a better person. And I think that's all
Absolutely.
this is like one step towards everything. One tiny decision on, I'm not going to even listen to what these other people have to say. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You have to make the decisions to build the life that you want for like you and your family.
I love that. I think that's a good place for us to wrap it on up, Elena.
Yes, I agree. I'm so glad that we got to talk about this. I
I know
felt
you
like
are. I
it
feel like you
is.
could talk for another hour on this
I
topic.
know, but we're not. We're gonna call it a wrap. But thank you guys for listening. And also, like, we would love to hear about your passions and what brings you all purpose in life, and how are you trying to find that balance of authenticity versus doing it for the gram. We want to hear all of it. Send us your comments, and we'll talk to you guys on the next episode of Everything Eventually.